Well, hello and welcome to episode 176 of the Childless Not by Choice podcast. My name is Civilla Morgan. My mission is to recognize and speak to childless not by choice women and men around the world, reminding us that we can live joyful, relevant, fulfilled, childless not by choice lives. And whether you have children or not, thank you for tuning in. What is today's show about? Well, today's show is about celebrating 10 years of podcasting. That's right, this is July 2025, so this is my 10-year podcastiversary. Back in 2015, when I set out to create this Childless Not by Choice platform, because the podcast would come a little later, maybe a few months or so, I wrote a white paper. If I find a copy of it, I will put it in the show notes, but it was a recording. And basically, according to Google anyway, a white paper is a persuasive, authoritative, in-depth report on a specific topic that presents a problem and provides a solution. And they go on to say that marketers create white papers to educate their audience about a particular issue or explain and promote a particular methodology. My interpretation of a white paper was based on my financial services background. And so that's where I got that thought from, to write a white paper, was from there, I thought, because the only time I'd ever heard about white papers was when I was in financial services. So seeing this definition from Google was interesting. I was like, I never really thought about it as a persuasive, authoritative, in-depth report on a specific topic that presents a problem and provides a solution. I don't think I would use the word report. But I guess, really, my podcast was presenting a problem, telling you, in the white paper what the problem was, childlessness and the world not understanding that we do exist and that we hide in plain sight, and providing a solution, which the solution was a podcast where we would talk about the issue and get the word out. So I kind of get it. I get it. So yeah, I wrote a white paper 10 years ago to explain the beginning of my platform and explain why I started the podcast. And that's what I just basically said previously. That's why I did it. I wanted to get the word out. And I was just like, it can't just be me. How many millions of people are on this planet? I can't be the only person on the planet going through the mental anguish that I was going through of not meeting Mr. Right, going through the issues of fibroids and taking medication to try to kill the fibroids that sent me into menopause, what I called a man-made menopause, and having to get off the medication before I lost my mind, and still not meeting Mr. Right. And then finally deciding to have a hysterectomy, then having to deal with coworkers who couldn't understand what my problem was or why these women were paying so much money for IVF treatments. All the things, you guys. I've talked about this stuff before. This is 176 episodes later. I've discussed it all. There is one subject I never discussed. I bet you can guess what it was. And I think I will before I end the podcast. And that's what I want to let you know today. This will be my final year of podcasting about the Childless Not by Choice experience. December 2025 will be the official final episode. I did ask my podcast producer if I got a big get, as we call it, if he would edit that episode for me, and he said, of course. But other than that, I've decided to end the podcast effective December 2025. I will keep it live through December 2026 and then make a decision after that as to whether I want to completely shut it down so you can no longer hear it or what I want to do at that point. But for now, I am closing down this podcast, the Childless Not by Choice podcast, effective December 2025. I will have episodes, and they will be good episodes, coming up for the rest of 2025. This is not the final official episode. I have other episodes coming, August, September. I'm not sure if I'm taking my hiatus this year like I usually do. The September, October, or was it October, November hiatus? I may still do that, but I do have episodes coming for August, September, December. Is it November, December? As I usually do, I will have episodes, and they will be good episodes. There'll be episodes that I will be working on just like nothing is happening. I'm not going to just do the least now because that's not how I operate. I plan on ending well. And so please do continue to listen to the podcast through the rest of the year because, like I said, I want to end well. I started this podcast with the idea that, as I said, I wanted to speak with all childless, not by choice women around the world, reaching all ethnicities, all races, all religions, because childless not by choice, transcends all of those things, and many of them man-made, by the way. So I didn't want to, when people initially called my podcast a ministry, I shied away from it because I didn't want to make anyone feel left out by going the ministry route. Yes, I talk about the church a lot, but that's because I'm a believer. And everybody who knows me knows I'm a believer. But that's not what I led with. It's not what I lead with, because I want everyone to know that I honor and respect them as human beings. And so we may not have the same beliefs. We may not be the same race or the same color, but we're human beings, first and foremost. Again, anyone who knows me knows that's what I always say. We're human beings first. And so that's the route I took. Was it the right thing to do? I mean, I think so. The reason I question it is, would I have gotten more downloads, which we'll talk about in just a moment? Would I have gotten more listens and downloads and shares and all of that stuff if I had gone the quote unquote ministry route? I don't think so, honestly. But I guess sometimes that is a question in my mind. Did I take the right route? And only because, not because we're not all human, like I say, but because maybe I'm thinking in the flesh and thinking about number of downloads, because that's what podcasters do. We think about number of downloads and getting our word out on our subject matter. So that's the only reason I question that. But I know I made the right decision to include everyone and make sure that everyone knew they were included. And that's why I heard from people from all over the world, from Scotland to the whole United Kingdom, Australia, India, China, you name it. I can go through a list right now of all the places where not only do I get listens, but where I've heard from people. And of course, right here in the USA. So I know that people listened. I know they heard. So I think I made the right decision. So have I reached everyone? Well, I don't know. A good 20% of the world population is childless not by choice. Yet 2 people this week, 2 women, in the same week that I'm making this recording, have questioned my not having children. It's literally the same question all the time. Didn't you want children? Or don't you like children? Or would you like one of mine? Oh, I can't believe you never had kids. Are you serious? And I've been podcasting about this for 10 years. So I may sound a little in disbelief, but it's unbelievable to me. And I'm not the only person discussing this childless not by choice. I'm not the only platform. There are many platforms out there and they're global. Many. And they're global. And I still get asked, didn't you like children? Why didn't you have any children? Would you like one of mine? So yeah, sometimes I wonder what else I could have done to get the word out better. How long will it take for everyone on this planet to understand that there is a whole segment of society that wanted but could not have children? I just don't know. And that's the part that really, I don't know, I feel a little bit down about it sometimes, but there's nothing I can do. I did my part. And I guess that's the way to look at it. And now it's time for me to put this podcast down. And the handful of people that I told before sending this recording to my podcast producer, they pretty much all asked me the same thing. What's next? So what are you going to do now that you put the podcast down? And my answer is, I don't know. And I don't think I'm going to know until I have officially put the podcast down, I guess in December. I don't know. Or maybe I'll know now that I'm making it public, making a public announcement. But the fact is, I really don't know. I know that I won't have an answer until the podcast is done. That much I can feel in my spirit. I know it. And I also want to make sure you understand that I am at peace about this decision. I really am. This is something I have been thinking about and praying about for a good year, if not more. So it's not something I just decided to do. It's just that I really had to make sure it was the right thing to do. I even told myself, well, let's just do it one more year until you're really sure. But no, I know now is the time, and I'm at peace about the decision and about the timing, because if I weren't at peace, I wouldn't be able to do it. I think we're all like that as human beings. It's got to be right in your spirit, whatever the decision is. And if it's not right, you know deep down. I've heard of women walking down the aisle knowing good and well they were marrying the wrong person. I've heard these stories. We all have a gut, a gut feeling about things. And so, no, I'm at peace. I'm at peace about this. I also want to make sure, I guess, stop here for a minute and just say that if podcasting is something that you want to do, or anything that you have ahead of you to do, maybe it's been on your mind to write a book, create a podcast, go back to school, all the list of things that people mention, you know how that goes. I will tell you that in the beginning, the first couple of years of podcasting, I had this thing we all know as imposter syndrome. And then it kind of turned into comparison. But I'm here to tell you, don't let that stop you. Don't let imposter syndrome and comparison stop you from what you are meant to do. Just go do it and keep your blinders on. Keep those blinders on and just do what you need to do. Otherwise, you'll never get it done, because that's what imposter syndrome and comparison were meant to do. They were meant to stop you from getting to where you're supposed to go in your life, in this life. And we only get one, and it's short. So, yeah, they can try to tag along, and they'll come in waves, and they'll attack you at the same time sometimes, or they'll tag team you, imposter syndrome and comparison. But keep going. Just keep going. It'll be worth it. Because you know what? 10 years later, putting this podcast down now, I say, once a podcaster, always a podcaster. So I know for a fact that even when I stop podcasting, I'm going to still consider myself a podcaster. That's what a decade of doing something will do for you. I'm not going to stop being a podcaster. It's just that I'm not podcasting anymore. I also making sure I capture all of my notes. If you want to talk to me about podcasting, because podcasting is one of the two subjects, I won't mention the other one right now, but if you know me, you know what the other subject is. Most of you know what my likes are as far as the things I'm passionate about. But one of the subjects I can talk to you about ad nauseum is podcasting. And not because I'm some pro at it. It's just that I've been doing it for 10 years. And I've been to multiple podcasting conventions. And what I will say to you is, if you want to talk to me about it, I'll give you a few minutes of my time. I don't want to spend too much time, because I don't like to overwhelm people. I'm good at that, overwhelming people with information. So I don't want to do that. I just want you to know that if you have questions about podcasting, you can reach out to me, and I'll tell you what I know, how to get started. It's one of those things that you can do at very little cost. And so if anybody approaches you asking you for thousands of dollars to get started, don't do it. It doesn't cost that much. An ATR 2100 microphone ranges between $60 and $100. And most of you already have a computer. Get that microphone, plug it into your computer, hit record. And you know what? A lot of people record on their iPhones. I've done it. Recording on my iPhone. So the key is, if you want to start podcasting, get started. Go to a podcasting convention. Get a ATR 2100 microphone. I'm plugging them and they're not even paying me. Just start recording. The key, I think, to 10 years is being passionate about my subject matter. Because there were times when I really wanted to put this thing down. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. When an episode comes back sounding horrendous and there's nothing that my podcast producer could do about it, he would do his best, but that would be it. And that's all he could do, because it sounded terrible. And I had to put it out like that, or I've had to ask for a re-record. That's the most embarrassing thing in the world, to ask a guest to come back to re-record. I know podcasters who've been doing this longer than me who it's happened to. So just, have your process when you're podcasting. I have a podcast. I even have a smiley face because most of you know I love a good joke. I love jokes. And the more you get to know me, the more you'll realize that I'm really a real jokester. I love laughing. I love laughing at jokes. I don't like playing pranks and stuff like that. I just love a good joke. But people who don't know me would tend to think I'm a very serious person. And I tend to be. I tend to be serious. But I guess the point I'm making is when it comes to podcasting, you just have to have a process, write it down, even have a smiley face so you remember to smile. I think that's where I was headed with that. And because people can hear the smile in your voice, it sounds so cheesy, but it's so true. And unless it's a serious subject where there's no laughing needed, just keep. And that's another thing. I know that my voice, I get compliments on my voice. I've been getting them for years, but I know that I can probably tend to sound a little monotone. So I have to keep that in mind when I'm talking. And when I listen back, I can hear it sometimes. And so all of those things could be excuses not to start your podcast, or they can be things to work on. People have told me that they like the way I interview, that they like my interviewing skills. I think it's because I think of them as conversations, not interviews. But guess what? I listen to other people interview. I listen to other podcasters, and my ears tuned in to see, are they letting them answer the question? Or are they over-talking them, interrupting them? There's a difference between interrupting and keeping the conversation going. There's a big difference. And I think some people don't know that. So I will literally sit here and I'll be listening to something and I will say, let them answer or let them talk. And so, yeah, it's one of my biggest pet peeves for people to ask a question and then interrupt. Just let the person answer the question. And yes, then you can navigate a way of keeping the conversation going if the person talks a lot, or if you really need to get the episode going. Yes, I get it, but interruption is rude. And there's got to be a way, and it comes with time and practice, of just managing the conversation so that you can get it finished in a timely fashion without interrupting and overspeaking. It can be done. And so these are just pointers that I just want to bring up as I end my podcast. Maybe you're getting ready to start yours or whatever your project is. Just don't let the imposter syndrome and comparison divert you. Be willing to listen to other people. Be willing to be open to being taught. That's what podcasting conventions are all about. It's not just a big room full of people every day for 3 or 4 days. Yes, they have every once in a while, they'll have a main speaker in the main room and all that, but there are tons of breakout rooms, just depending on the subject matter that you want to know more about. So I really encourage you, if podcasting is what you're thinking of, go to a podcasting convention. Immerse yourself in those 3 or 4 days. If you can stay at the hotel where the convention will be, I know sometimes it's pricey, and you may have to stay at a cheaper place nearby. Do what's best for you in your pocket. Because there's one thing I do not do is look in people's pocketbooks. But if you can stay at the hotel where the convention is and fully immerse yourself. If you can't stay, just get there early first thing in the morning and leave when they turn the lights out. Just get there and just immerse yourself into the convention. There's so much to learn, and there's something different to learn every year. It doesn't mean you have to go every single year because it can be really pricey, but try to get there a couple times, at least once before, just when you're starting your podcast. And that, I think, also will help you not get taken for a ride with people who don't mean well, because there's a lot of that goes on, just like any other industry. And so I love podcasting. I may be putting down my podcast, but it doesn't mean I don't love it anymore. But it's time. I just know it's time. So I just want to let you know that I put 10 episodes in the show notes, free to click on, episodes that range from all parts of the last 10 years. So of course, as I always ask, give me grace for those earlier episodes. And, I don't know the handful of people that I have told beforehand that this was happening. They've all asked, what's next? I don't know. I don't know what's next. I'll know when I put the podcast down. As I said earlier, some people have turned their podcast into a book. That sounds intriguing to me. So that could be a thing. But right now, I don't know. I just know that I'm making the right decision, that I am at peace about the decision, and I know that all will be well. The podcast, it'll be available for you to listen to through 2026. Even when I end in December of 2025, you can still listen to all episodes through the end of 2026. And at that point, I'll decide if I want to continue to keep it available. Like I kept the Not Just Another Religion and Politics podcast available since I ended it several years ago. But I'll know for sure by the end of 2026 what I want to do with both podcasts. Maybe I'll shut them both down completely so that there will be no more ability to listen. And then I'll just move on to the next thing, whatever that next thing is. But I'll keep you posted, whether it's an episode on the podcast or if it's just a social media update, I'll keep you posted. I want to thank you all for listening. Some of you have been listening since the beginning. I appreciate it. I know several of you that have been changed by the podcast because you told me so, not because I think I was all of that, but you've been changed by the content. It's helped you become the person that you are today. I had a conversation with one of my admins today, and I saw the change that came over her from the first time I met her until now, how it's changed her. And it's fantastic and amazing to see that the deep sadness that we all feel as childless not by choice women when we are out there trying to make things happen. And then for some of you, it worked and it happened. Yes, you got your child, but some of us didn't. And then what do we do with it? How do we approach life? And I've watched her just completely turn around, and her approach to life now has just been beautiful. And so I know many of you out there, that's the same thing has happened. And it's been an honor. And it's been humbling to be a part of that journey. Whether I know you or not, you're listening and changing and feeling better about yourself and doing things in life that you thought you'd never do because childlessness had you in its grip. It's humbling, and I'm honored. So thank you very much. And until next time, have a good one. Bye.